Good morning. Thank you for finding your seats. Good morning. Great. Good job, everyone. Thank you. Welcome. I'm Nick Messino. I'm the Chief Economic Development Officer for Partnership Gwinnett. And welcome to the Infinite Energy Center and the Infinite Energy Forum. You are a guest today of Partnership Gwinnett. And Partnership Gwinnett is the community and economic development initiative and strategy for all of Gwinnett County. We represent Gwinnett County, our schools, our business community, and our municipalities and CIDs in the recruitment, expansion, and retention of businesses in our 5 target industries. And you are attending one of our economic development breakfast series. And we do these very unique breakfast series based on unique topics like today's topic. And so when someone will ask us later today, when is your next economic development breakfast series? The question is, what's the next great topic? So you can actually help guide that. Let us know what your great ideas are. We only do a couple of these a year, and we hope to see you at the next one, whatever your great idea is. I will now spend the next half hour thanking our sponsors and our VIPs, so please bear with me. But our one of our favorite groups, our presenting sponsors, Jackson EMC, right in front of me. We have Randy, Jennifer, Garrett, and team. Thank you for your presenting sponsor again. Our platinum sponsors, Brand Bank. I know there's quite a few people from Brand Bank. I know Melissa and Kevin are here. Thank you. And then the Steve Kendrick, who's the general manager for Select SI of Gwinnett, Subaru of Gwinnett, Infinity of Gwinnett. Steve, thank you so much for your investment and allowing us to put on this program today. And our corporate sponsors are East to West Media Group. I know Rob's here and Jennifer might be here as well. Thank you for being here. And then our very special partners for today, Sugarloaf CID. Thank you so much. Now, again, so that was only 1 minute. So the next 29 minutes, VIPs. First of all, let me just say, you're all a VIP in my eyes. I want you to know that from right here. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, let's start with Chairman Nash, our chair of Gwinnett County Board of Commissioners. Chairman Nash, thank you so much. I have District 1 Commissioner Jace Brooks. I didn't see Commissioner Brooks, but he is right here. Here he is. It's amazing. And you're walking on your own 2 feet. That's great. That's exciting. Commissioner John Hurd from District 4. I didn't actually see Commissioner Hurd, but there was a rumor he was coming. Okay? Well, we tell him he got a standing ovation. Just let him know that. Okay, our county administrator, Glenn Stevens. And if you don't know what the term county administrator is, imagine a Fortune 500 company COO running the day-to-day operations. That's our COO, County Administrator Glenn Stevens, running a $1.6 billion organization. Thanks, Glenn. Wayne Mason, it's like, how do you define Wayne Mason? I wrote down former county chairman, but also prolific developer and visionary for Gwinnett County. Mr. Mason, thank you for being here. Mike Levengood, the chair of Partnership Gwinnett. Mike, thank you for being here. Then the whole team from the Sugarloaf CID, Alyssa Davis, Jim Ezel, who is the vice chairman, and Richard Tucker's here as well, who's on the CID and the Explore Gwinnett board. Lisa Anders from Explore Gwinnett, and Preston Williams. Preston, the president and CEO. Lisa Anders, the executive director. And I think Richard's on that board, along with all the other board members. So thank you so much for being here. Now, all of our municipal elected officials and staff, thank you so much for being here. And we're almost done. Carol Boyce, the chair of Gwinnett County Public Schools, the greatest public school system in America. Just ask me. Glenn Cannon is rumored to be here, who is the president of Gwinnett Tech. And I know there's some other folks from Gwinnett Tech here as well. Thank you for being here. Phil Wolf, CEO of Gwinnett Medical. Phil, thank you so much for being here. And our great friends and my boss from the Gwinnett Chamber, Dr. Dan Kaufman. And Ron Gerard's here, who's the chairman. And then the executive team. I know Vince DeSilva's here, Alicia Crow, Louise, and Ken Rutherford, all here. Thank you so much for being here this morning. Michael Paris, president of the Council for Quality Growth, and man about town, James Touchton is here. And last but not least, all of the rest of us, Partnership Gwinnett investors and friends and guests, thank you so much for being here. I am done. And next up, let's have a warm welcome for Jennifer Fennell with Jackson EMC. Jennifer, our presenting sponsor with Jackson EMC.
So good morning. Like Nick said, I'm Jennifer Fennell with Jackson EMC, and I work with our commercial and industrial customers here in Gwinnett County. Many of you I get to work with every single day. It's very much my privilege. But I see a lot of old and new friends. I've seen Phil Weatherly. I've known Phil for about 25 years, and so many of my new friends around here in Gwinnett County. But the story of Gwinnett and Jackson EMC is a long history. So in June of this year, Jackson EMC turns 80 years old. And 80 years ago, this was just a rural community. And Jackson EMC was just a small company of a bunch of community leaders who came together and decided that they wanted to grow their communities. Much like the way that we come together today to talk about the growth of this area. Once was a rural community, turned into a thriving arena, and now we're going to see what it has for our future, the growth of this area, which would just be transformational for Gwinnett County. I'm excited to hear what everyone has to say today. I'm excited everybody's here to be part of the reveal of Revel and to talk about the things that it's going to bring our community. Jackson EMC is excited about this project, excited to partner with everyone who's here to grow this area and to continue to growing this community to make it a place that everyone wants to live, work, play, and grow and learn. So thank you so much. Y'all enjoy your breakfast, and the program will start shortly.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Alyssa Davis, and I'm the Executive Director of the Sugarloaf CID. The Sugarloaf CID formed a year and a half ago to ensure the long-term success of the area around the Infinite Energy Center. For those of you who aren't familiar with community improvement districts, we are a self-taxing district funded by commercial properties. Being part of a CID allows property owners to pool their resources to complete projects that wouldn't happen otherwise. Our CID has been successful not just because of the property owner investments, but also because we've been able to take those funds and leverage additional funding to bring $7.5 million to fund transportation projects in our district and another $200,000 for plans and studies. We have projects already underway to ensure that the area remains safe, attractive, and that we keep traffic flowing. We also have an LCI master plan underway to envision the future for this district as it becomes downtown Gwinnett, and how development and transportation can work together to make the area more walkable, bikeable, and transit friendly. If you own a commercial property, if you are a commercial property owner in the area and you aren't already a member of the CID, I hope you will consider joining with us. We're proud to work with great partners like Partnership Gwinnett, Gwinnett County, Explore Gwinnett, and North American Properties. And speaking of, today I have the honor of introducing Mark Toro with North American Properties. Mark has a passion for creating smarter built environments and healthier, happier places. He's an advocate for expanded transit and walkability and has developed multiple award-winning mixed-use communities. Mark's experience and his team's experience really comes from focusing on that street-level human experience that they're going to bring to Revel, and we're so excited about that project right here in our district. You probably are familiar with a lot of the other projects that they've completed, including the repositioning of Atlantic Station, the $1 billion Avalon development in Alpharetta, and the redevelopment of Colony Square are now underway in Midtown Atlanta. Mark has been named one of the 55 most influential Atlantans by Atlanta Magazine and most admired CEOs by the Atlanta Business Chronicle. So please join me in welcoming Mark Toro to the stage.
Thank you, Alyssa, and good morning. It's an honor to be invited to be here, especially, I guess Gwinnett stands for early riser, because anybody who would get up and show up at 7:30 in the morning to hear a developer drone on about his project is a special kind of person. But I'm excited to be here to share with you. I've got about 175 slides. It take about 90 minutes to get through. Then we have Q&A, and then it'll be time for lunch. But it's truly, I'm happy to be here. Chairman Nash and Wayne and I were just talking about Gwinnett today, Gwinnett yesterday, and Gwinnett tomorrow. And Wayne and I work on it. I guess you only have to say Wayne in Gwinnett County to know who you're talking about. But in In the early 90s, he and I worked in Snellville together with one Mike Lant, who is now back with us again. So that was close to 30 years ago. And Gwinnett has, as we all know, grown considerably since then and continues to be one of the significant economic engines in the state of Georgia and in the Southeast. So we're going to talk to you today a little bit about Revel. I'm going to share some sort of stats and facts and site plans and things, and then introduce you to the team that's actually going to execute on that plan, and then offer an opportunity for Q&A. So because this is the 90s, no, this isn't. It's the 21st century. I'm looking for my next slide. Why not? One more time? Okay, there you go. I'm figuring out the technology. So speaking of technology, if you have a device in your pocket or your hand, and you can go open your browser and go to pigeonhole.at. These instructions are all on your table. Enter event passcode Revel and enter a Q&A. So as we're talking, whether it's one of the team members about specific aspects of the project or as the global kind of presentation, feel free to post questions. What you'll find is that someone may have posted the question that you wanted to ask. So if you scroll through the questions that have already been asked, you can sort of pile on, if you will. And what happens then is that the questions that are most people are interested in rise to the top. I've got a feed here on the podium that I'll moderate the Q&A. So that's coming, again, in about 90 minutes when we finish these 170 slides. So Gwinnett today, and I don't propose to tell those of you who live, work, and play in Gwinnett what Gwinnett's about, but what I'd like to do is share with you our perspective as we view this as an opportunity to create something truly special. There are almost 1 million people who currently reside in Gwinnett. The daytime pop is 400,000 people, and as David Weinert, who you'll meet shortly, will indicate, that provides us with plenty of density, plenty of bodies, plenty of consumers to make this a viable enterprise. Obviously, its location at Main and Main, Gwinnett County, sort of at the center point with all of the infrastructure you could ever imagine, with 158,000 cars a day on 85, provides obviously the kind of traffic you want. And the demographics, that, as we see it, density and income is what drives commerce, and that is what drives these mixed-use developments. The CEO of Federal Realty, a gentleman by the name of Don Wood, said on a panel I was with him a few years ago in LA, if you get the street level right, everything else will take care of itself. So all the other real estate products you'll hear about today, residential, a loft office, Class A office, hotel, all of the things that make the mix of uses are driven by that street level experience. That street level experience is driven by the consumers who patronize that commerce. So in 20 minutes, we got 555,000 people. In 30 minutes, we got 1.6 million people. Highly educated group with 70 colleges in the county and 170,000 students. Infinite Energy Center is a significant draw for tourism, with $1.2 billion spent in 2017 and 11,500 hotel rooms. And where we stand, I think, Preston, did you have a record year this year in 17? With 1.2 million in attendance, 1,000 events, $15 million in ticket sales. That kind of built-in demographic we layer on to the people who live and work in Gwinnett. So we view the opportunity as this. First, it is to understand what the community seeks. And listening to what it is that the Gwinnett County resident, visitor, concert goer, hockey player, soccer mom, whoever is our consumer, it's critical that we meet the market. We're going to talk a fair amount about Avalon today, but there will never be another Avalon. Much like there will never be another situation exactly like Alpharetta 2013. So the key is, And as Chairman Nash correctly pointed out earlier, the opportunity here is to customize or tailor this offering to the market. So we started a year ago with polling the Gwinnett County community to understand what it is that we see as residents and consumers in this market. One-time bedroom community that's changing. 600 international companies are based here, recognized as one of the best public school systems in the country. The most culturally diverse county in the Southeast and number 17 nationwide. But Infinite Energy Center is viewed as a diamond in the rough. A little boring, quality of concerts has improved immensely, feels unfinished, it's like a beast with three heads, a work in progress. You go there and get entertained and then you leave. That's why we're here, because Preston and the GCVB board recognized a number of years ago that this was an opportunity to capitalize on a significant asset, a jewel in Gwinnett County that is already driving more than 1 million consumers a year to this site, and take advantage of it and create a there. The next piece we did was to tour the communities in Gwinnett that already have something of an urban feel. So Lawrenceville and Swanee and Snellville and Lilburn, and understanding what it is, Sugar Hill, understanding what it is that Gwinnett County's paradigm is relative to an urban experience. Because we live in the suburbs here, and the experience that we're used to is decidedly suburban. There are, however, urban opportunities, and we found at Avalon, where we created the Southeast's first urban burb, that lifestyle was driving the decisions of the consumers, the residents, the office tenants, and other hotel guests, and others who are now patronizing that community. The other thing we're in the process of, because we're about midway through this process, is going on what we call a design discovery tour. And that, we did this at Avalon in July of 11. We did it at Colony Square in 16. Last summer, we went on a tour of 27 food halls. In order to design the lobby bar at the hotel at Avalon, we spent 3 days in New York City looking at 23 lobby bars. That was probably my favorite trip of all these. But here we're looking at, I'll call it arena or stadium proximate mixed-use properties. And there are a number of them. We have done the West Coast leg. So we started in Phoenix, Arizona. We looked at Westgate. We looked at Scottsdale Quarter and others. And then we moved on to LA, and we looked at City Walk, Grand Central Market, and LA Live. And each of these has components that we believe that we can learn from, because there are no original ideas. We're out there seeking to understand what is the best opportunity to deploy something: food hall, wine shop, restaurant, bowling facility in Gwinnett County. It's a matter of importing that use into this environment. Then it was about creating the brand. So I'm going to use a number of examples. These are what we call the arrows in our quiver in deploying this experience, by using Avalon as the example. So in creating the brand, it was critical to understand what the psychographic, not the demographic. We saw 1.6 million people with average household incomes of $86,000. But who are they? What are their buying tendencies? Most retailers today, whether you're Lululemon or Cheesecake Factory, know exactly who their consumer is, and they can drill down on it at a keystroke to understand what it was that they seek. Then it's a matter of building a brand around that psychographic. We have completed that process here at Revel, and we're going to share that with you. Then it's about merchandising, and David Weinert is going to share with you his approach to merchandising Revel, and it's about aligning a number of retail, restaurant, service providers, and other brands, entertainment uses, and other brands that match the Revel brand, that match the consumer brand. So we start with the personal brand of the people in this room and the people that you all represent in the community. We layer on hotel guests, visitors, concert goers, other components of the consumer base, and we seek to align the personal brand of those consumers with the personal brand of the offering. That is how the commerce is then driven. Then it's a matter of mixing uses in order to bring consumers onto the property 16 to 18 hours a day. At Avalon, it's an uncanny similarity to what we're proposing here at Revel. 101 single-family residences, 526 multifamily residences, 500,000 square feet of retail, including entertainment and grocery, a 330-key hotel with 65,000 square feet of meeting space, and I'm missing something, 108,000 square feet of loft office, and 600,000 square feet of Class A office. The key there and the promise of Avalon early on was something we used to call the energy curve. So at 6 a.m., you've got a single-family homeowner out walking their dog, going to get a cup of coffee at Goldberg's. At 7:30, you got people coming to Flywheel. At 9 a.m., you have people coming to work. At 10 a.m., they have the stroller brigade out doing yoga in the park. At noon, you have the lunch crowd. In the afternoon, you've got ladies who drunch. In the evening, you have, it's mostly tennis teams. So if anybody is offended by the tennis remark, my wife and I talk about that a lot, and she said, you can't say that in public. So I'm sure I'm in trouble. And then you have happy hour, and then you've got the evening crowd, and then you have the late night crowd. Now when we added the hotel at Avalon, the bar is doing more business than any of the fifth group restaurant bars they've ever seen because it's a late night crowd, and that's what they're seeking. So that energy curve assures that there are people on the property, there are people in the community all hours of the day and night. And that is what we've ascertained. I mean, this has been a learning process. That's what we have ascertained is our stock and trade. We create community, we capture human energy. So 7 years later, $1 billion in value created. Avalon is now complete, and we're on to our next thing. The one key component to all that is control. And as developers, we're control freaks by nature. But in this case, it's an even more critical component to assure that the experience is as intended. Everything matters. If you go to Avalon, you'll see that the manholes have logos on them. If you sit in the swing at the bocce court, the stencil that's cut out in the canopy projects the logo on the ground. Those components are critical in assuring that the consumer perceives this as an integrated brand. And here we have the opportunity to capitalize on the Infinite Energy Center brand and the Gwinnett brand. So in order to maintain that control, at Avalon we had 6 developers, some of them more, amenable than others. And in order for each of them to understand how we were going to create value for them in their, quote, product, Class A office, multifamily, single-family, hotel, it was important for us to demonstrate that they were going to make money. The first thing we asked them to do was pay. In order for them to all be interested in assuring that the Avalon experience was going to be consistent, they all paid into a fund called the Avalon Experience Fee. I won't tell you, it's not important how much, but it was significant dollars that assured that they were invested in creating the Avalon experience. Key differentiator. The next key differentiator, and maybe our ace of spades, is the open container policy. So when you come to Avalon, you can walk up to the bar at El Felix and take your margarita to go. Or you can take your wine from Crew Wine Bar and go shopping at Lululemon. There's nothing that lubricates sales in retail stores like booze. Food and beverage is the new anchor. There's no such thing as a department store anymore. There's not a mall being built in America. There may never be a mall built in America. But food and beverage is a critical component, and those food and beverage operators are absolutely essential. So we underwrite, when we look at a restaurant, we don't underwrite the concept or the credit of that tenant or their balance sheet. We underwrite the person. So when Ford Fry did the El Felix, or Brian Lewis did Bocado, or Giovanni De Palma did Antico, most of those restaurateurs, it was their second or third, or sometimes their fourth or fifth unit. And it was critical for us to take a flyer on them, major investments made in restaurant, the highest failure rate business in the world, and we're investing $200 per square foot in their physical plant and crossing our fingers. Well, it gets to be a personal relationship. So it's critical that we understand what Giovanni De Palma is about. how he's wired. We had I won't name the person, but we had a restaurateur who was backed by his brother-in-law. It was really important whether it was his wife's brother or his sister's husband as to whether or not we felt like there was a stable relationship. And you can paint that picture relative to how that could come apart, right? Another critical piece is public realm. We're going to talk a lot about it here at Revel because we have a really huge opportunity, especially relative to Avalon, to create public realm and energize public space. But at Avalon, we've got public spaces ranging from the living room, where we have bocce courts and fire pits, to the plaza, where we host 4,000 people for the Derby Day and all kinds of other events, which our skating rink is, if you've been there. Programming is a critical component to what we do there, and I'll just share a brief video of the kinds of things that we did last year. So those are a number of events we call signature events, where we do them every, say, Wednesday is Yoga in the Park, or what do we call it, Wellness Wednesdays. We do Friday night events weekly, but then we host events once a year, like on the 16th, which is coming up a couple of weeks, the Luck of Avalon, which is a St. Patrick's Day event, on Derby Day, the 5th of May, which also happens to be Cinco de Mayo, so Avalon's going to be off the chain. We invite the community to come use the property. I mean, it's a very simple thing. It's our front yard. Come play in it. The piece that I think that is unique about this experience is that we so heavily rely on what we call earned media, whether it's PR or social media, that we have abandoned traditional channels. So the event you saw in the close there was the lighting of Avalon. That happened to be last year, but the first year was in November of 2014. The event was to be held on a Sunday. On Saturday, the forecast was for a monsoon on Sunday afternoon, and we said we have to pull the plug. So we essentially relied on social media channels that we had built throughout the development, which is something we're going to talk about today, in order to engage with the community. We talk about we build community before we build community. So everybody lives online today. If you want to know about Revel, we're there, and we'll engage in a conversation with you early and often. That was the advantage we had there, is that when we had to pull the plug on the 2014 lighting of Avalon on a Saturday afternoon, Sunday was a washout, the event was on a Monday, 15,000 people showed up on a Monday throughout the day to light a tree in a shopping center, with no radio, no TV, no newspaper. Major component to what it is, how we communicate with the community. Service and hospitality is one of the last pieces. Matt Simon's going to share with you his approach to hospitality, which we imported. It was one of those key learnings that we took away from one of our design discovery tours. The Grove in Los Angeles is the premier operator of high-touch experiential retail. So we have a team of concierge, valet, housekeepers, security people, all trained in high-touch service. Operations is a critical piece. This is Kaylee Mullen is on the left. She runs our community engagement and concierge team, and the remainder of that group are our service providers, valet and others. So it's much more akin to a hotel than it is to a shopping center. And the key is that all of the people that create these experiences come from backgrounds that are not real estate. Caruso arguably is the closest thing to real estate where Matt came from. Four Seasons is a hotel, obviously. Paul Bodine joins us. He was an assistant golf pro. Carla Cox was with Discovery Land Company, a resort developer, and Kaylee comes from Nordstrom. So the key is that we got out of the box and stopped thinking about this as a real estate venture, and started looking at it for what it was, which was entertainment. The last piece is community, and we talk about we create community. We build community before we build community. This is probably the word that is most prevalent in our vernacular. And the reason is that what we've stumbled into is that when you come to Avalon, it's rare to see people sitting down looking at their device. They're having a conversation. They're having a meal together. They're having a drink together. They're exercising together. They're doing yoga. They're bringing their kids to meet for, it's back to that sort of small town aspect, even though we're serving a large region. So part of that piece is giving back. We host the Lionheart 5K. We've done that for a number of years. North Fulton Community Charities, Bert's Big Adventure, City of Refuge, Drake House. Who am I missing? It's a significant opportunity for us to bring charities from around North Fulton onto the property and offer them the use of our gathering spot. We have all this parking. We've got great opportunities. We've got a great team to stage events. So this is an example of what we did
It
last
is
year.
noon tonight fashion show for Bert's Big Adventure at Avalon. So much fun every year, and we will see you out there tonight, all right?
Bert's Big Adventure is the trip we take every year down to Disney World for 5 days with kids that have chronic and terminal illnesses.
We followed Bert's Big Adventure for many, many years, and we finally had the opportunity and the property that we could host this charity fashion show.
It's such a special night for our Bert's Big Adventure kids, and it's exactly what they need after they spent so much time in the hospital.
Can't stop the tears from falling down.
The boost in enthusiasm, you can see it as they're walking down the runway. That's why I love this event so much. It really makes our kids feel beautiful.
All my friends are here. I'm like so ecstatic.
People's generosity here at Avalon is just growing more and more every single year.
All the supporters that make this possible, thank you so much. You are truly creating memories that last a lifetime.
We had the third annual Noon to Night last year. It was in September. And it was just kind of capping off the season of offering the site, our property, to the community. So here we are in Gwinnett. What you've so far not heard, we haven't talked about square footage, we haven't talked about rent, we haven't talked about buildings, we haven't talked about site work, we haven't talked about anything relative to a development. And that will continue until we have to get into the nuts and bolts. We're still in the process of creating an experience, right? And the unfortunate fact is we have to build those buildings because it's almost a nuisance. The fun part, as Liz will attest, is hosting the community and seeing happy, smiling, happy people doing fun stuff. We call it. The brand of Revel is critical to understand what it is that we're seeking to I'll call it capitalize on, enhance. Turn up the volume on the Gwinnett experience for residents who already live and love it and visitors who travel and experience it. It's those million people who live here and those million people who come here that we want to be able to accommodate. We call it life amplified. So getting into some numbers. These are moving targets. They will flex up and down. We will not speculate. We're not going to build 150,000 square feet of office space and hope that somebody shows up. We're not going to build 5,000 square feet of retail space that's not spoken for. But the components are critical relative to achieving a certain critical mass on the street level so that we can create that experience. 215,000 square feet, I'll call it specialty retail, 25,000 square foot food hall. I mentioned we went on a 27 food hall tour last summer. It was extraordinarily enlightening, extraordinarily powerful. We've identified a few key players who really excel at it. The rest of them really are still learning. So we took the opportunity to go out in the marketplace and understand what was best and brightest. Got 35,000 square foot premium theater, 35,000 square feet of fitness, 20,000 square foot grocer. I'll call it specialty grocer, and we can't yet identify who. A beverage market of 20,000 square feet. There's only one of them. Might know who they are. Adult beverage market. 300-room Marriott hotel. Preston and Lisa have worked with Concord Hotel Group to advance a deal. They are really, really capable, and we're happy to have them on this team. 700 units of residential, and we'll talk about splits between multifamily and single family. 600,000 square feet of office space. So this is what it looks like, and it's critical to, I think, understand that this will remain a moving target till the last drop of concrete is in the ground. You know, we used to call it design build. Now it's build design, because we're constantly responding to market forces and other considerations. Here we've got all kinds of things like topography, existing signal locations, the location of. So this is the arena. This is the site of the proposed Marriott. We're sitting about right here. Is that right? About right there. And what we propose is to create a street akin to Avalon. There are a number of things that we'll take from it: public spaces, boulevards, streetscapes, environmental graphics, a number of things that we'll take from that in order to create this experience, because it works. There are a number of things that we won't take from it because it doesn't work here. And this is what it looks like. Similar in scale, similar in scope, similar in street layout. It will be, however, dissimilar in a lot of ways relative to the proposed uses and the commercial aspect of how this operates. In a word, downtown Gwinnett. So what I'd like to do is bring our team up, and if anybody's been pigeonholing, let me see if I've got live. And what I'd like to do is invite everybody to, there you go, that's great. Invite the team to the stage, have each of them share a couple of minutes on what it is that they do and how they contribute, and take it from there. So let's start with John Kelly, partner and senior vice president of development. It's all you. But everybody's doing it. Okay, good. Off we go. So Liz Gillespie, Vice President of Marketing. Richard Munger runs our residential group. Matt Simon runs operations. And we'll take that. I'm going to need that. Yeah, that's good. And David Weinert runs leasing. And, of course, Lee Sanders, who needs no introduction, Executive Director of Explore Gwinnett. So, John, you want to share a couple minutes on what you're about?
Thanks, Mark. Yes? Oh, it is. Okay. I'm real happy to be here developing a project in Gwinnett. My family came to Gwinnett in 1822, and thousands of other families from all over the world have followed suit since then. That's what makes this really a special opportunity, is the diversity of the community and the strength of the community. My job in running the commercial development group starts on the day we have a sheet of paper with a boundary map on it. And it's a blank slate within the lines of that boundary. However, in this case, that's not the case. We have these world-class facilities of the Infinite Energy Center that are already here, bringing over 1 million people a year to the site. So we really commend Preston Williams and Gwinnett County for the vision that's gone into creating these facilities. And we want to expand on that vision with our own vision that Mark presented today. So we take it from there and pull together the consultant team That would be the architects, landscape architects, civil engineers, traffic engineers are a big piece of it, attorneys, and they lead us through the design process and the entitlement process, and then we bring in the general contractor to build it, and it's not just a general contractor. At Avalon, we had 50 contractors working on the project at the same time. That's really a three-ring circus to manage, but that's what it takes for a large, complex property of this type. And once we're done building it, we hand the keys over to Mr. Simon, and I get to flip to the other side and enjoy the property as a consumer. So that's what I'm about in development. Thank you.
Hello. I'm 3. Okay. Hi, I'm Liz Gillespie, and I am an experience maker. I'm the one who works on, I have a wonderful team of experience makers that are in the audience today, and basically our role is the whole community engagement piece. We, as Mark mentioned, we create the experience first, and then we sort of build the box around it. And we really, it's so important to us that we create space that encourages connections. It's about that emotional connection, about establishing that heart share before we establish market share, and really making sure that we create a community that encourages people to connect. When you look at the public realm, the gathering spaces we create, that could be little intimate settings for a girls' night out, or a 4,000 intimate event for Derby Day. We really like making those connections and creating community. When you look at building community, it's interesting to think about at Avalon. We have, as Mark showed in one of the presentations, that we have an ice rink. And that ice rink has become like marriage proposal central. Our concierge team, our experience makers there, have coordinated dozens of marriage proposals on the ice rink. And it means so much to us to see that we've established an emotional connection today at Avalon that encourages that sort of, that's where they want that memory to be, where those new traditions are coming together. So what we'll do, and what we're already doing at Revel, is meeting our community and getting to know you and getting to know what's important to you, so that we can make sure that we integrate that and celebrate the diversity that exists in Gwinnett and establish those emotional connections at Revel. So we look forward to connecting with you. If you look on your tables, there's also how to connect with us on social. We like to make sure that we're communicating and connecting with you where you live. If you live online, we're right there with you. We're here in person, so we connect in person. We love making those emotional connections, and encourage you to follow along with Experience Revel on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. We're everywhere. So join us, join in the conversation. We really appreciate the feedback. We appreciate the suggestions. We look forward to connecting with you and to having you help co-curate the experience that will be unique to Gwinnett. So we are experience makers. And now I'm going to hand it off to Richard.
Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Richard Munger, and I am John's counterpart on the development side. I have the opportunity to oversee our residential group. Within our residential group, we have a multifamily in-house, which includes also a general contractor. And then on the single-family side, we'll be working very, very closely at the appropriate time with different home builders to select the one that really sees our vision and understands what we're about, and to be able to extend the brand. With regard to the residential, it's just about increasing dwell time. It's really about making sure that we extend that brand and really find the right product that suits the development the best. So it's fun. We can't wait. We've been super excited to be able to work in Gwinnett here and work here at the facility, and just super, super excited about everything else. And pass it on to Matt here.
Good morning. My name is Matt Simon, and I consider what I have as the most fun job in the company. I am the one who gets to operate all the existing properties, and I take that mission, and my team takes that mission, as no less than the opportunity to change the world. I think people forget, and I think people forget very quickly. I think, in Los Angeles, when we built the Grove, before it was there, people thought of that area as a space where people would come at 6 a.m. and wait for their Price is Right tickets so they could be on CBS. And they forget that there wasn't a Walgreens in Alpharetta not too long ago, and that was a very recent experience. And now my wife, who's never left Los Angeles and moved to Alpharetta, I convinced her to do that because of the vision that was built there, felt completely comfortable in that community and felt it to be an incredible urban experience and had a great time. And on that way that we can change the world, we'll do the same thing in Midtown when we change Colony Square for the millions of residents who live there. And we'll do the same thing at Gwinnett for everybody who says, this is a great opportunity. Are you guys sure this is ready for it? And I think the piece that I think that nobody understands is you don't know how good it can be till you have it. And then it becomes the new normal. And I think that's so important in what we do every day. Our teams are incredible at creating these experiences. They're world class. I mean, we treat that concierge no different than what a 5-star hotel would offer you. They'll do anything for you as long as it's legal. But more than anything, the people that work on that property, including all the retail stores who are our partners and the office tenants, the life that they get to experience every day that you'll get to be a part of is exceptional and unrivaled in the world. So thank you for having us, and we're very excited.
Good morning, everybody. My name is David Weinert. I run the leasing business for North American Properties. Very happy to be here today. This retail-driven mixed-use development product type that you heard from Mark is absolutely in demand. This is the only way a critical mass of retail is ever going to get built in this country again for as far as we can see. There's going to be no more malls built in this country. There's one under construction right now in Connecticut, and that is the last one planned in this country. All constituents, starting with the retailers, but all constituents just love and embrace this live, work, shop, dine, play concept. And it's been proven out in several mixed-use developments around the United States. I can say this a little more objectively because I only started with North American Properties last October, but Avalon, which Mark and the team here just executed to perfection, is really widely regarded as one of the best executed mixed-use developments in the country. And the retail performance there is just superb. It performs like some of the Fortress A kinds of retail shopping centers around the country. So to have that kind of momentum going into our next development project is huge. The whole market and development story here that Mark alluded to is really compelling without going through the demographics and psychographics and all those things that Mark mentioned. But along with this very compelling market and development story is a serious void in quality retail in this immediate marketplace. Gwinnett Place Mall, we know, is yesterday's news. There's only a couple stores left. Sugarloaf is a completely different product type, not related to what we're doing here. They're value-oriented, format. So we really have a wide open slate here to deliver a unique point of difference mix of best-in-class retailers. And when I go to merchandise, a shopping center, I'm looking at 25 different categories of merchandise, which we don't have time to go through. I'm looking at price points from moderate to upper moderate to better contemporary. Within that, we need to factor in contemporary and traditional taste levels, i.e. the psychographic match with the retailers. But very clearly, especially in this marketplace, but really in any marketplace, to be competitively dominant, we need to cater to a wide range of demographics and psychographics. That is the intent, to be all things to the most people that we can be. We'll address the more affluent sections. We'll address every single category that way as we think about the mix. Building off of this incredible entertainment infrastructure is just a really exciting enterprise because the food and beverage business that we can do with this, along with all the other retailers that like to be around the food and beverage, is just huge because of the infrastructure that we already have here. So this is a wonderful opportunity for all of us to really build one of the great mixed-use developments in the country, and I very much look forward to that. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lisa Anders. I'm the Executive Director of Explore Gwinnett, which is the tourism organization for Gwinnett County and our municipalities. Our role with this project is project oversight, led by our CEO, Preston Williams, and the chairman of our board of directors, Richard Tucker. Part of our job is we have a management oversight component of our organization with the Infinite Energy Center. So their success is a huge part of what we do. And the one thing I'm really excited about, everything Mark has talked about, were the reasons why our search team chose North American, because we knew that not only could they develop it and they could execute it, but they could activate it and they could engage it and create it into a place that both our residents and our visitors would want to come. But this is not just the only part of this project. This is a mixed-use project that is a public-private partnership. There'll be a public portion of this project that will enhance and improve this facility. We'll expand the exhibit hall, or the forum as it's now known. Very excited about that. A lot of infrastructure and technology improvements, and the addition of a 4-star full-service convention hotel, which we have needed for a long, long time. So we're really excited about the partnership, and we think that it's going to be great things for both our visitors and for our residents. So thank y'all for coming this morning.
Thank you, Lisa. I'm good. You know what? Why don't you keep that? So you have just met the best team in this business in this country today. And I can't tell you how excited I am to be associated with them, and I hope you'll all join me in welcoming them to Gwinnett County. So we have a number of questions. Not surprisingly, number one is, when do you expect to break ground? I'm looking at you, John.
March 1st, 2019.
Oh, I like that. That's a good date. So essentially a year from now, we've got a tremendous amount of work to be done in pre-planning and engineering and traffic studies, and not to mention that David will pre-lease a good portion of this project before we put a shovel in the ground. But we've got about a year's work to do. We've got about a year's work under our belt in understanding this market and assessing what's viable. And similar to what we did at Avalon, we closed in 11 and broke ground in 13. That's probably the approach. Next question. What is the retail vision for Revel?
I think I explained that pretty well with my words, but clearly unique point of difference, best-in-class retail. And this market, the density, the affluence, the average household incomes, the number of households that earn more than $100,000. But again, we want to cater to a wide range of demographics, but it's best-in-class retail.
Tell me about, if you elaborate on, and again, many of us here have been to Avalon, so you may have a paradigm, or you've been to the Grove in LA, or you've been to City Center in Houston, or to Domain in Austin. How will it be similar to Avalon, and how will it differ?
I think it'll be similar in having the opportunity to really cover a broad range of categories. That there definitely will be, by the way, retail lives. The bricks and mortar business is alive and well. We could talk about retail for hours here. I've never seen more new concepts in my life. They're just very selective about where they go. The issue with retail in this country is dramatic overbuilding of space, but enough for my retail speech. So on Avalon, it's going to have a similar kind of categorical mix. There's going to be apparel, there's going to be beauty, there's going to be home, there's going to be gifts, there's going to be electronics, there's going to be everything that you would want to see in a competitively dominant retail mix. That is the intent.
Next question. This might be good for Matt and John, actually, or everybody, anybody. What would you not do at Avalon again? Lessons learned. Matt's got a favorite one, I know. I'm not sure he's going to share it.
No, I think the design discovery tour really took some really good cues of what not to do and took them out of the mix. Can I keep the grass alive at Avalon? Well, I've replaced most of the grass with fake grass because it is that busy, and I can't keep the grass alive. But other than that, I made a ton of changes when we got there, and learned from it. But I think that's the key to it, is that if you look at Avalon today versus Avalon when it opened, it's a completely different experience. There's brand new retail there. What didn't work, we took out. There's different ways that we operate the property. There's different ways that, the guest interacts with that property. I think that's the key, is that it's a community and we operate that town, very much that there's a mayor of that town and we make those decisions. But at the same time, they're made in the interest of the community and the success of that community.
You're not going to trash Mahal?
I wouldn't build a trash facility at the back corner of the center and have two gentlemen who drive around in a truck picking up trash. I wasn't going to.
That was a miss. It's okay. Hey,
it's a miss. We'll never do it again.
Transparency. Anybody else? What would you not do at Avalon?
I wouldn't wait to build the hotel at the end.
I like that.
It's a lot of energy comes along with it, and I think having it on the front end would have been tremendous.
And we have that here.
We do.
In a very, very similar circumstance. It's interesting that it's uncanny almost how similar it is. Gwinnett is much more diverse than Alpharetta. How do you go about attracting a variety of visitors that don't fall within similar cultures and economic demographics?
Such an interesting question. I mean, I think that everybody in this room has diverse likes and diverse dislikes. And what you like, very often the person next to you really likes. And I think that's the gauge that we use on our properties. If I disagree with something, we're not going to do it. And that usually sets up for success. But putting excellence on these properties and not compromising and saying, well, I heard that, and filling that lower denominator is a huge mistake that I think a lot of developers make, and a lot of people when they merchandise make, is that they develop to the wrong crowd who they think they've heard for so long is what that community is. And if we had developed Avalon to what we heard was in Alpharetta when it was being developed, we wouldn't be here today. You wouldn't have invited us here today because we'd have just pretty much built a pretty strip center.
Good point.
I would add to that, too, in terms of celebrating diversity in Gwinnett. One of the things that we recognize is, and as Matt said, we're all alike, we're all different. And when we're developing these communities, we really develop around a mindset and the way people live. And we spend a lot of time learning. And that's really the purpose of this, of really creating these community connections now and forging these relationships now so that we can continue to understand and make sure that we are building a community that's going to support the diversity and celebrate what exists and amplifies what's special about Gwinnett. And the way we program it is the same way. It will be intended to celebrate the diversity and celebrate what makes Gwinnett special, just like we do in each of our communities. We celebrate what makes that community special. So we'll definitely be focused on that.
So many retailers are highly sensitized to catering to a wide range of demographics. It's just what they do. It's the key to many of their successes. When you talk about a food hall, there'll be 15 or 16 stalls with different food groups from around the world. And frankly, it's all about diversity in that mix that makes it work.
The one thing I would also add is I think the difference in Gwinnett is that the diversity is already here in this facility. We have that 1.2 million visitors every year. And one of the reasons why this is being developed is to give people an entertainment option after they get here, after they leave a concert. Well, that concert right now might be Alejandro Pena, or it might be Justin Timberlake. It could be the Indian Festival. It could be Japan Fest. The diversity of events that are in this facility already, from the theater to the arena to this room itself, is astonishing. I would guarantee probably the most diverse in Metro Atlanta. So I think there's already that core base of diversity, and just making sure that what we offer appeals to them as well. But I think we've got a built-in audience who's already hungry for things to do after they leave a show.
Great. How will this impact the Gwinnett Place area, which is struggling to redevelop? Will Revel, quote, suck the oxygen out of the room and further push back redevelopment of that area? Let me take a first shot at that. This is not a zero-sum game. A rising tide lifts all boats. We built Avalon 2 miles from Gwinnett Place, from North Point Mall. We built Avalon a mile from Alpharetta's City Center. Both of those projects will survive, thrive to various degrees, but to the extent that we can continue to raise the tide in a community by creating what is arguably a void. There is no downtown Gwinnett. There's a downtown Lawrenceville, and there's a downtown Snellville, and there's a downtown Duluth. But currently, there is no place for the entire community to come and be. That's not to say that won't be at the expense of other retail concepts or other office buildings or other real estate ventures. However, we are not head-to-head competitive with anybody. Not to be arrogant, but there is no such thing as Avalon. There's no such thing as that specific retail mix. Yes, we had 12 or 15 tenants come out of North Point Mall to come to Avalon, including Apple. But for the most part, those were all new to market restaurateurs, retailers, and entertainment providers that were not resident. So those are all theoretically net new dollars to the community. I expect to see, and those net new dollars are what is rising, is the rising tide. So I expect to see the same thing here. Gwinnett Place is by no means competitive, and we don't expect to impact that in any way whatsoever. Anybody want to touch that?
It would also, the whole idea of the development around Avalon, since Avalon has come in, and what a catalyst it's been for just the whole area around it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, there's a halo effect that has followed Avalon. Bob Cheely's work across the street and Greenstone, and essentially on all sides, we're seeing that kind of development that you would see, that we saw when Gwinnett Place Mall was built in the 80s. I mean, all the power center work that was done around Gwinnett Place Mall was because of the mall. We're seeing the same thing now at Avalon and Alpharetta. Next up, how will traffic flow and parking be impacted?
I'm surprised that wasn't the first question.
Yeah. Only has 11 votes.
Yeah, lot of angles to cover on that, and we have a long way to go on it too. You heard from Melissa earlier with Sugarloaf CID, and she has a lot in the works already today for improvements on the Sugarloaf corridor. So that's where it starts. We will go through the development of regional impact process with the Georgia Regional Transportation Authority. That's heavily focused on traffic. We've done a lot of studies. We've really studied how, because it's so unique here. We've come and done counts of all the events that are going on to see how traffic functions on the property as it is today. And then we hired Kimley Horn. Where's Jim Hamilton? I saw him earlier. We hired Kimley Horn as our traffic engineers that will guide us through that DRI process. You heard lots of concerns about traffic when the Braves opened the Battery. Kimley Horn did their traffic engineering too, and they've gotten rave reviews after the first season for how everything functioned. But I think most importantly, you look at the events that are here today, when 14,000 people are in that arena, everyone comes at the same time and everyone leaves at the same time because there's nothing else to do here. So by developing Revel, we'll give people a reason to come early and stay late, and it'll eliminate a lot of the peaks you see with traffic. So we're really going to change the behavior of the traffic.
Next up is how important will a transit component be to the success of the project? I think I'll take a first shot at that one. Chairman Nash and I were just talking about the trip we did September, Toronto, to view transit options as a regional group from around Gwinnett who is what is the program called? Strategic Leadership, yeah. And we were exposed to a BRT system there that was very viable in a very similar circumstance to a suburban community significantly removed from the CBD of Toronto's downtown Toronto. And that's one option. Another option is a MARTA station at Revel. There are lots of different opportunities. The key is that that's finally getting traction. After all these years of banging the drum, and I look at Alyssa because she and I met with a youth group. What was that? Access Atlanta? Advance Atlanta. A millennials group that was seeking to lobby at the State House for transit expansion. And we're seeing a warm reception from communities like Gwinnett, finally, to see regional transit solutions provided. BRT, heavy rail, light rail, I don't think it matters. But to the extent that we are going to operate like the region that we are of 6+ million people, we've got to start to commune. That's my soapbox. And I'm happy that Gwinnett is now in the mix in that discussion for a regional transit solution. Yes, Revel will benefit from a transit opportunity. Anybody want to add on to that? How will the CID work with North American Properties to protect cannibalization of the retail in the area like Sugarloaf Mills? I'm going to go back to my earlier answer about Gwinnett Place. similar kind of circumstance. There is not a single retailer, and again, back to Avalon, or we could go to Atlantic Station, we go to Colony Square. There's not a single retailer at Avalon that was taken from anywhere other than inside North Point Mall. I say taken, cannibalized, for the same term to be used in this question. And that's simply because it's a different offering. I mean, there's lots of very viable retail on Sugarloaf Parkway and all over Gwinnett, much of which we built over the years, starting in the early 90s. Those projects and those tenants and those retailers will rise and fall on their own merits. The marketplace is still strong. The demographic is still solid. Gwinnett continues to grow. Incomes continue to rise. So that rising tide will lift those boats. But this is not a competitive product type. You want to advance that, David? Relative?
Yeah, I think there's a couple points there. This is what we're building retail-wise is not the 1.2 million square foot super regional mall that got built up yesterday, sucking the wind out of a lot of retail around it. Although even those developments, were very synergistic regarding what then unfolded in the future, meaning stimulating new development. But this is 330,000 square feet of retail, not a 1.2 million square foot super regional shopping center. And just the trend with what the psychographics really demand in the country today is this urban street kind of environment. So we go on a tour of all these towns around here, and I'm in love with all these streets and towns and the restaurants that are opening in these cities, and that is going to continue to thrive. So I think we're just completely synergistic with the marketplace here.
Next up, will the open container rule of Avalon be replicated at Revel? I think the answer to that is yes. And I think it's already been baked into the program. I don't know that it's a formal ordinance, is it, Preston? Preston shaking his head. That's all I need to know. So I can fill up my beer and walk out.
I think something that's so important about an open container policy is it's something you associate with vacation. I always consider if I'm in a tropical country, I can walk outside a restaurant with a drink. And it's not, yes, on the weekends, if you overindulge, my valets will not allow you to take your car, and we'll call you an Uber. And we manage that very well, and we work in partnership with the police department. But at no point has it become, let's line up shots against the outside of a bar outside and start drinking beforehand. It's a way to enjoy an environment, and it very much sets an incredible feeling on that property that's cannot be replicated without ordering a bottle of wine at dinner and having the waiter say, would you like to take the last two glasses to go?
It's a differentiator. There are a number of communities less than a mile. How do you plan on addressing the ability for these communities to have an intimate connection and be able to walk and enjoy the amenities? Let me touch on that first. The answer is, I don't know that we know. Because as we began to understand how, back to Avalon again, or we could use Atlantic Station maybe even, we started to understand how Home Park related, how the residential on the Atlantic Station site, how did East Midtown. We started to understand that once we started to live the property. In Alpharetta, the city council and the mayor were forward thinking enough that they thought it was critical, and I walked it actually on Saturday morning. Thompson Street is a connector that's about 3/4 of a mile long between Avalon and Alpharetta City Center, and they've gone to great lengths to assure that public right-of-way was enhanced to essentially a linear park. And they are closely managing all the development between their one anchor and the other anchor of that community. We expect to see the same thing here. I just don't know what that is yet. And I don't know that we live intimately enough, and we'd love to hear. That's one of the things that I think is important about establishing this dialogue today. We want to hear from you about everything from what kind of retail and restaurant. Have you got a restaurateur that you love? Back to, we were underwriting Ford Fry and Giovanni da Palma. We're underwriting Antico Pizza. If you have an individual, and we've already met a couple of those types of folks from Gwinnett County who are really passionate about what they do, who are great operators, who are going to succeed, we want to hear about it. Or if we know some way for us to create a bike trail, we want to hear about that too.
Can I add to that, Mark?
Sure, please.
I think the CID is a big part of the solution for sidewalks and connectivity. The Sugarloaf CID is relatively young, but if you study all the other CIDs throughout Atlanta, it's not just about getting cars around. It's about moving people around. And there's been a big focus on pedestrian connectivity, and I think you'll see that with Sugarloaf CID as well.
Other similar projects have failed to incorporate an affordable housing component. How will Revel not make that same mistake?
Yeah, great question. One thing that we're going to focus on as we get into the housing and more is just a great mix. What we're seeing, and I'll use Avalon as an example, we really see kind of what we say both ends of the barbell. We have millennials, and then at the same time, too, we have residents that are in their 80s. So we have a great mix, and the way we address that is with our unit mix. We'll have some smaller units that are price sensitive all the way up to larger units for empty nesters and everything in between. So it's something that's definitely a key component of all of our residential development, and we'll be focused on that as well.
So I'm going to take one more question from Pigeonhole and then open it up because we're 7 minutes. One last question. What contractors do you already have engaged in the Revel project?
None on the construction side other than our in-house group on the multifamily.
Good. Open field. So question and answer the old-fashioned way. If you didn't use Pigeonhole, you still have a question, or if you want to pile on one of these. Any other questions for our team today? No? Great. Well, I think that's a wrap. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everyone, thank you so much. What did you all think about the Pigeonhole? That was kind of a cool technology. That's the second time I'd experienced it. Thank you so much for that. Was brought to you by the great folks at North American. That was their idea. I'd used it one other place, and I thought it was really helpful, and I think it went really well today. As we wrap up, I want to answer a question which I don't think got asked or answered because someone asked a question, when are you going to break ground? Then someone asked when you're going to moving dirt. Well, Preston Williams actually gave me a little bit of an update this morning. You're going to see ground being moved very shortly. I think as many people know, there's a 7-story parking deck that is going to take the parking where most of you are parked. They have to start replacing that parking before they take it away. So the new road off of Meadow Church, there's going to be parking up there. You're going to see a lot of changes right out front here. If you take the walkway across and you're right adjacent to those trees, maybe say goodbye to some of those trees. So there's going to be parking that has to be replaced. So you're going to see almost immediately what you'll see earth being moved. So thank you very much this morning. I appreciate the people that have already texted me with great ideas for future economic development practices. And Alicia Crow appreciated the strategic leadership shout out. That I believe is invitation only. And you can talk to Alicia Crow if you'd be interested in joining us in Salt Lake City in September. Thank you so much and have a great day. Thank you for being here.